Hi, I'm Dr. Chad Larson. When it comes to longevity, there's kind of two components that are important to think about. One of them is lifespan, like how long you live. The other one is health span. How long of your life do you maintain health? And there's a interesting sort of process that happens in the body that is connected to both of those things, health span and lifespan. And it might not be what you're thinking of. We're not going to talk about cardiovascular disease. We're not even going to talk about brain health. I'm talking about muscle health. So there's a really common, very, very common problem that happens as we get older. It's called sarcopenia. Kind of like osteopenia is bone deficiency. Sarcopenia is muscle deficiency. And it's really common. First of all, there's just kind of an underlying current, oftentimes as we get older, of lack of physical activity. And muscles are very much supply and demand. The more demand you put on your muscles, the more that they're going to supply you with more strength and tone to the muscles relative to the amount of demand that's put on them. But there's some other things that we can do with our diet that very much influence our muscles. But it's not just the diet and the foods that you choose, it's the timing of your diet. So there's a whole concept called chronobiology, chrono meaning sort of timing, biology meaning how the body functions. And now they're using that to kind of to make other terms like chrononutrition. What is the best time to eat in certain foods to kind of cause a certain thing to happen in the body? So it's a really cool article that was just published a few days ago in a journal called Cell Reports. And what they did is they looked at this very thing. They wanted to see, is there a way to time a meal and what sort of macronutrient ratio in that meal would best influence muscle development, muscle hypertrophy, growing and strengthening of muscles. And what they did is they looked at mice and they gave mice protein in the morning and then protein at night. And then they evaluated through multiple sort of measures muscle development. Here's what it came down to. When you have protein at night, that can really kind of stunt your ability to develop muscle. In other words, no protein in the morning and protein at night can really influence muscle in a way of decrease hypertrophy of the muscles. If you load protein in the first part of your day, that actually creates more muscle hypertrophy, muscle growth and strength later in the day. So, this is interesting because a lot of the breakfast foods that I guess the food manufacturers would have us think are good breakfast foods are usually super carbohydrate rich, and usually we're more encouraged to have sort of protein at night. But this study, especially in the topic of muscle development, it kind of flips that around. And to me, this kind of makes sense sort of biologically and evolutionarily. But okay, that's mice. What about in humans? Well, cool thing, the same group of researchers looked at it in humans, and it said the exact same thing. Those who had protein in the morning and lower protein at night developed muscles in a significant way better than those who had it reversed and lower protein or no protein in the morning and then protein at night. So it's really key to get some protein, whatever your first meal is of the day. And it doesn't have to be at like 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning. It's whatever is sort of like your first meal of the day. Because I'm still a fan of kind of extending the overnight fast. They didn't talk about this too much. It's okay that it's not first thing in the morning. I still want to extend my overnight fast to maybe 14 hours or so. So maybe my first meal is at 9 or 10. It doesn't have to be 8 in the morning. But the key thing is that protein synthesis, in other words, muscle development, is going to be better if we have protein first thing in the morning. Some people, I can already hear you out there, and they say, if I have protein in the morning, I'm going to feel kind of nauseous because I'm just not used to it. So what do you do about that? Well, fortunately, the same group of researchers also looked at BCAA supplementation, branched chain amino acids. These are amino acids that help to provide building blocks of muscle development. The branched chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And leucine is kind of the main one out of those three branched chain amino acids that are really kind of anabolic to your muscles. So they also said that you could supplement with branched chain amino acids in the morning, and that can have the same net effect on muscle development later in the day. So that's really key. Timing is so key. There's lots and lots of research that are being conducted right now that help us to understand meal timing. You know, we're just very disconnected with sort of our environment and timing and the day and night cycles. And so we need this research to really help to kind of bring us back to nature, I think ultimately is what we're going to find out. And so if you're thinking about, oh, should I have my protein, you know, at the beginning of the day or end of the day? I'm actually a fan of protein at, you know, kind of multiple times a day. But if you're going to emphasize one or the other, definitely start your day with some protein. And that's going to really influence your muscles. And this is going to influence, because what happens as we get older is we get this sarcopenia, we get this muscle loss, and that could very much influence our balance. That could influence your ability. A lot of people, older people, if they trip, the reason why they end up falling is because they don't have the muscle strength to bring the leg out there to kind of catch themselves. So muscle strength is really, really key at all ages, but it's certainly with each kind of passing decade, it gets that much more important. And you have to kind of focus on, what do I need to do today to help support my muscle strength and my muscle hypertrophy and development. So it's a really key thing, very fundamental process for longevity, but just overall kind of wellness. So hopefully that helps. I will keep reading the studies and bringing you the information. Until then, keep it real.